Hey folks, this is Maria Abreu. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, we invite you to subscribe. And if you like the content, make sure to hit the like button and share. Hey folks, so I'm still here in my detox weekend, if you will. Okay. And as promised, we're going to talk about the changes that have been brought about by immigration on an administrative level. Okay. It was through a resolution dated October 13th of 2021. And we're going to talk about that and how these changes affect you. Okay. So I've shared some of my weekend with you because besides talking about Dominican, immigration laws and, investments, I also thought it would be a good opportunity to, show you some of the gems that the country has to offer. So down to brass tacks, guys. Okay, let's talk about what this channel is dedicated to covering, which is the latest information having to do with immigration laws and investments. I had previously mentioned that immigration was, coming up with a resolution. Now, what is a resolution? Let's talk about what a resolution is. A resolution is a document which introduces administrative changes to an institution like immigration. So it doesn't change the law, it complements the law or clarifies the law. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by this. Immigration law, for instance, requires that, foreign nationals applying for residency provide police clearance from their country of origin, right? That's what the law establishes. However, through a resolution, immigration defined that countries that are divided into states, like the US, Mexico, Canada, will have to provide a federal clearance, meaning you can't just provide a clearance from the state that you live in, it would have to be a federal clearance, okay? Because it shows that you haven't had issues or criminal conduct in the country itself, okay? So that's what a resolution does. It's an administrative change that sheds light or defines how to apply a particular law. And so this new administration introduced some changes that are quite favorable, and we're going to share them with you now, okay? One of the changes that was introduced, which was the cause of a lot of stress for foreigners in these, times of pandemic, because, uh, legalizing documents and, replacing documents or ordering documents, such as, renewing a passport, it's been quite a feat. I mean, I've heard that it's taken up to, 8 weeks to renew a passport. Okay, it's a long time. Immigration, taking into account that in these times it's difficult to order documents, replace documents, apply for renewals, has introduced a change. Now, the law establishes that those applying for residency have to have a passport 18 months from the expiration date. So if you have a passport that expires in anything less than 18 months, then you would have to renew it before you can continue to apply for residency. You continue your application. This resolution introduces the change that they're willing to bring that time frame down to 12 months, okay? So if your passport is 12 months from the expiration date, you can go ahead and apply for residency. And in some cases, they're even willing to bring that lower. They're willing to bring it down to 6 months in extraordinary cases, because we know there are countries that are just not renewing documents at all, okay? I've heard of Venezuela, I've heard of Cuba, I've heard of other countries where those offices are just not functioning. In fact, here in the Dominican Republic, the US Embassy is closed again, okay? They had opened and set up appointments for people needing interviews for visas, whether it be immigrant visas or tourist visas, and they just sent notices of cancellation. So until 2023, the embassy is not going to be providing the service. So in these extraordinary cases, they're willing to bring that 12-month time frame even lower, which is beneficial, okay? Because who wants to stop a residency application because they can't get their passport renewed? So that's one of the changes. Another change, which is going to make a lot of people very happy, is the change having to do with foreigners married to Dominican citizens or foreigners with permanent residency status. So let me say this again. Foreign nationals married to Dominican citizens or foreigners with permanent residency status will be able to themselves apply for residency without the need to obtain a visa, okay? So this means that if a person is here married to a citizen and they, live together, they've been living together for a while, they have bank accounts together, they share an apartment, a house, living quarters, all of this can contribute to allowing this foreigner to obtain residency without the need to apply for a visa, okay? So in that case, there are certain documents that will be required. First of all, obviously, we have to prove the status of the petitioner, which would be the spouse, their citizenship, or they're born in the DR, they have permanent residency for how long, and then there's going to, the documents proving the union, the marriage certificate, bank statements of joint accounts, if they own property together, if they're renting a property, proof that their names are on the lease, things of that nature. So that person will come in under the RP3 category, meaning they're coming in as, significant others of the person who has status, okay? It's kind of like what happens when a citizen petitions a Dominican to the US and the name of the form is an I-130. So it's kind of the same thing, but it's a relief because this way there's a whole step, a whole process removed from getting residency. You don't have to get a visa. You could go straight into applying for residency. Okay, if you are a temporary resident, however, you don't have the privilege. Meaning if a foreign national is married to another foreigner with temporary residency status, then this measure, this change does not apply to them. Only to Dominican citizens and foreigners with permanent residency status in the country, okay? Another change that was introduced, which was quite a relief for us, for our firm, is the process to reactivate a file. Let me explain what a file reactivation is. Now, a good number of my clients do not live in the Dominican Republic, but they have, residency status. And as I mentioned in other videos, since the Dominican Republic doesn't require that their residents, that those who have resident status spend any amount of time in the country, it is very common that, foreigners get status although they don't live here, okay? What happens is that creates a little bit of a situation when it comes down to scheduling, because there are times when they are going to have to come to the country to pick up their residency card, when it's time to renew their residency card. So sometimes it's challenging for them to schedule these trips, okay, to come get their file or to carry out a step of the process. So for instance, once a residency is ready and immigration provides notice that the residency is ready, now the foreign national is provided, if it's temporary residency, with an appointment, or the investment department requests that we set up an appointment, right? You have up to a year to pick up that residency card and schedule up once it's approved, okay? Now, it has happened that, folks cannot get to their appointment. Things happen, situations, family matters, health issues. Point is, the year goes by and they can't come pick up their documents. At that point, the file is, it's not closed. It goes into inactivation. So if the foreigner wants to continue the process to get the residency, we would have to reactivate that file, which is a separate process. Now, what is involved in reactivating a file? Well, first of all, we have to send a written request to the director's office via the correspondence department. And once the authorization to reactivate is granted, it used to be that we had to replace stale dated documents. We would have to replace the documents with newer versions of it, apostilles and all, translate that, and the foreign national would again have to get a medical exam, okay? So you don't have to go back and get the visa, but pretty much the process with immigration has to be redone. This resolution introduces the change that immigration will be willing to forego the replacement of old documents, which is a big deal. They're willing to let it go at the documents that were received when the application was submitted, however long that was. The thing that we will need to replace or do over is the medical, okay? So basically, we would send in a written request to reactivate that file. And once we get authorization to move forward with the reactivation, we submit the same copies of the same documents they already have, and then they'll just authorize a medical exam, okay? And then that would be it. It simplifies matters significantly because, you know, this day and age with the pandemic and all that's going on, to have to replace an apostille documents, it is like, okay, it's like having dental, you know, oral surgery without the Novocaine. So that is a big thing for us. That's a really big step. Same thing if you started the residency process and your medical was authorized, but you never came back to get that medical. Well, we can reactivate it. Okay, we could just put in a request and they will authorize for us to move forward and the medical will be rescheduled. So that is a pretty big deal, guys. Okay. Another change that was, and I'm not going to say change, this has been something that's been going on for the last couple of years, but it was finally put in print so that people take the guesswork out of the processes. So for those applying for temporary residency, you will have to show solvency in one of three ways. Either you have the title to a property, title to a vehicle, or a bank account in a Dominican bank with a minimum of 300,000 Dominican pesos, which at the current rate of exchange is about, it's like a little over $5,000, 5,040 something dollars, okay? So one of those three will have to be submitted along with your application for temporary residency in order to be approved, okay? Now, I want to clarify that for purposes of maintaining temporary residency status, that requirement will not be needed, meaning it's only to submit the file for the initial application for temporary residency. The renewal processes will not require for bank statements or bank letters to be submitted, okay? So this is pretty much to just get your foot in the door, all right? So when you're talking about residency, if you're going for temporary, you need to add that into the budget. You know, allocate those funds so that we can help you set up the account and you will have that minimum in there for the application process, okay? Even if later on the account doesn't have that amount, it's okay because for renewal, they're not going to be asking for any banking information. It's just for the initial application, all right? Now, for those who, and I've explained this before, for those who apply for residency under the fast track, it's a little different because although we do have to set up a bank account and provide a letter indicating that you have a bank account in a Dominican bank, a minimum is not required at that time, meaning you're already providing pension documents or the income documents, whatever it is your category is. So that bank letter does not have to, have a minimum balance. However, for those who are going to be renewing under the fast track residency, will have to show a minimum at the time of renewal. So things change. Temporary residents don't have to renew providing banking information, but residents under the fast track do. Okay, so what kind of funds does immigration look to see in a bank account for those who have residency under the fast track? Well, if you're a pensioner, we know that the minimum is $1,500 a month in order to, get residency under the fast track as a pensioner. So for the renewal process, they require to see at least 3 months of pension income in the account in order to approve the renewal. Okay. And they want to see about 6 months of bank statements. And this is from the Dominican bank account. Okay. So it's good that 6 months prior to your renewal date, you move the account around. Okay. Whether you're depositing money into it, whether you're using the debit card to pay for things, but they want to see a movement in the account. If you get into the fast track as an investor with the 200,000, or as a foreign investor, meaning you have the $2,000 of income a month, here again, they want to see at least 3 months of that minimum in your account, okay? And 6 months of bank movements, of bank movements in the statements. I'm sorry, guys, I'm having trouble articulating. It's Sunday, okay? So yeah, coordination's a little off. I'm too relaxed, too relaxed. This place does magic. It does wonders. So, okay, they want to see, for foreign investors who get 2,000 a month, at least 3 months, okay, in the account of that amount. So it would be about $6,000, okay? And they want to see 6 month worth of bank statements with some movement in the account, okay? Now, this is actually a break, because what the law establishes is that the foreign national should be proving that 2,000 a month or that 1,500 as a pensioner comes into the Dominican account. That's what the law actually establishes. But the Dominican Immigration Department knows that most people don't live here. They don't live here. So, receiving funds on a monthly basis into that account or getting your pension there is not practical. So they let it go. I mean, this is part of the resolutions that we talked about. Even though the law establishes one thing, they cater it, they define it to apply to circumstances that are not foreseen by the law, okay? So for those who don't live in the country, you don't have to worry about redirecting your pension here or making $2,000 worth of deposits every month into your account, okay? But you should show at least 3 months, okay, of those deposits in your account, all right? Okay, so one of the other changes that is being brought administratively, okay, is for those who suffer infectious diseases, all right? You know that I mentioned that every administration comes in with their own mindset. They come in with their own, ideals. So for those that were infected with AIDS, syphilis, hepatitis, gonorrhea, I mean, they were getting a run for their money, okay? The state was coming down hard on that and was just denying those applications from the outset. This resolution introduces a change. Foreign nationals that are suffering from infectious diseases would have to undergo a physical exam by a medical facility authorized or certified by the Dominican Immigration Department. This is in order to determine that the condition is under control and that the person is getting continuous medical treatment and following, you know, the indications of the doctor, meaning that they're taking their meds and that it's under control. So that's going to be required. And you may be required to bring medical documents from your treating doctor back home. This is a positive thing. It's a positive thing because, you know, it got to the point where if a person was suffering from AIDS, you know, but most lawyers would not take the case because they knew it was coming. So they're showing a reasonable attitude. So if you suffer from an infectious disease, you can have temporary residency, but we will need to see proof that this condition is under control from your country of origin and also from, you know, resulting from a medical evaluation here in the country. Okay. So that is a very positive thing, folks, because I get a lot of questions about people who've lived with, for example, AIDS for many years and want to come here to live, they want to retire, and they're concerned. You know, what would happen if that would come up in a medical exam? So this is very good news, guys. Now, these are the changes that affect my viewers the most. There were other changes that came for workers, you know, temporary workers on the contract and students. So this is a very, very good thing. All right. We see that the Dominican government is trying to open doors, trying to, you know, facilitate obtaining residency for foreigners interested in investing and living here, relocating here. So as I said, you know, good changes every day. They're, you know, doors are opening and there's more to come. So as these changes take place, we will make sure to report them to you so that you are on top of what's happening in the country, okay? But if you have any questions about the information that was shared in this video, please make sure to contact us. We provide free consultations. The initial consultation is free. So please feel free to reach out to us. There are other videos that will be coming where we're going to have guests from the state. And as I said, we're getting together the members of the Lawyers Association who are experts in immigration matters. So all of that is coming, guys. Everything I promised you is coming, okay? Enjoy your weekend. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time.